What's up guys, my name is Ace, and now that the brand new Battle Royale for Battlefield 6 has been out for a few days, this is called REDSEC, I wanted to share how I'm feeling about this game, because going into it, I was burnt out on Battle Royale games. I've been burnt out for years. I enjoyed Battle Royales in the early days of like H1Z1 and back in like Blackout, for instance, and Warzone, obviously. I really enjoyed Battle Royales for a time, but they did get old for me several years back. And so Battle Royales generally don't interest me much, but if a new one comes out and it looks interesting, I'll definitely hop in and check it out like I did with REDSEC. So I went into REDSEC not really expecting to like fall in love with it or anything. And now that I got a little bit of playtime in it, I ended up feeling exactly how I thought I'd feel about this. I don't think it's a bad Battle Royale by any means. In fact, I think there are some really nice elements to this that I'll be talking about in this video. But at the end of the day, I'm just not a Battle Royale guy, and this isn't enough to really bring me back into the Battle Royale genre. So today, I'm going to be sharing some of the things I like, some of the things I dislike, and I also wanted to explain how REDSEC is going to fit in with this channel going forward. So let's start this off with some of the things I actually like about REDSEC, the first of which is the map. I think this is actually one of the highlights of the mode. The map is beautiful. I love the colors, I love the lighting, I love the fact that each point of interest really feels super unique. That's quite refreshing. I know a lot of Battle Royale maps, they go for a lot more like realism and like a really consistent look and feel across most of their points of interest. Whereas with REDSEC, it seems like every point of interest is like its own unique thing with its own unique vibe and feel to it, but they still manage to somehow make it fit in nicely with the big picture of the map. Another thing I like is Battlefield gunplay transitions really nicely into a Battle Royale as expected. They didn't have to make any major adjustments to how their weapons work or anything to make it suddenly fit with Battle Royale because the engagement style and engagement distances are really quite similar to multiplayer. The only difference is there's armor in the picture now. So to me, gunplay felt really nice. Another thing I really like about this that actually makes REDSEC quite unique are the weapon upgrades. And for those that don't know, these are lootable items that you can pick up. They're tied to a specific weapon class, so you'll get one for like assault rifles, for instance, or SMGs or LMGs. And if you have that class of gun in your inventory, you can use that to upgrade your gun to the next rarity. And in doing so, you're actually adding attachments to your gun, and you get some level of choice as well as to the direction you want to take that upgrade. So you can choose which style of optic you want, for instance. You can also choose between a larger magazine or more accuracy. And as you find more and more of these weapon upgrades, you can keep upgrading the same gun to the point where by the end of the match, you could have a very competitive ground loot weapon that you've picked up and just been upgrading throughout the match. And I like the fact that that takes away a lot of the need for your own custom weapons, which you can get just like in Warzone. But unlike in Warzone, I don't feel like it's my primary goal immediately when I drop in is like, I've got to get my loadout so then I can be competitive, because I can make the ground loot weapons quite competitive over time. Now that doesn't mean that it's pointless to get your own custom weapons, like that's still going to be a nice bonus and there's still some incentive to do that. I just don't feel like it's absolutely necessary in order to really hold your own throughout a match. Additionally, for things that I like about it, I really like the Firestorm. Not only visually, I think it's one of the most intimidating circles in a Battle Royale and it looks amazing. I also like the fact that they took a more unique approach here where it's actually really dangerous. If it touches you, you're dead. But in saying that, you do get plenty of warning, and it does tend to move quite slowly, so I've never had an issue outrunning it, even if I end up really close to it. I've never had an issue just outrunning it on foot. So I like what they've done there with that. Another thing I thought I would dislike about this, but I actually found it wasn't too bad. It's a lot more manageable than I initially expected. This is the vehicle play. I thought tanks and vehicles had too much potential to just totally ruin a match. However, there are so many opportunities out there for getting items like rocket launchers, for instance, or things like airstrikes, and those can be used to really effectively deal with tanks, especially if you're coordinating as a squad. I honestly think if you get the right setup, running into a vehicle just means free kills for you. But of course, you do have to plan for that and likely coordinate with your squad to plan for that as well. And then finally, the last thing that really stands out, and honestly, this stands out the most for me that I really like about REDSEC, this is the Gauntlet mode, which isn't even really a Battle Royale. This is something totally different, but it's under the REDSEC umbrella, therefore it is free to play. And with this, for the rest of the video, I'm just going to be sharing Gauntlet gameplay because I had an absolute blast playing Gauntlet. I found this to be very enjoyable. And the way this works, for those that aren't familiar with Gauntlet, is it's actually a round-based mode, and with every round, you just have to qualify to get into the next round. And if you don't qualify, you're eliminated, and you'll have to reboot the game again. It's a similar idea to like Fall Guys, for instance, if you've ever played that. So it still has like a Battle Royale vibe to it, but it's a round-based vibe where you have to just keep qualifying till you get to the last round, and then the winner of the last round is the winner of the entire Gauntlet game. And throughout this, on a round-to-round basis, you're going to end up on a different point of interest on the Battle Royale map, so you're limited to a much smaller area, but you see a lot of variety on a round-to-round basis. And you also get a randomized, or at least nearly randomized, game mode selection as well, and the modes can be quite interesting. Some of them are like sort of capture the flag style. Others are basically just eliminate other squads and survive as your squad. Other ones just require you to like capture and hold objectives. There's a wide variety of game modes mixed in there, and like I said, I had a really good time with Gauntlet, and I could actually see myself coming back and revisiting Gauntlet as time goes on, just to get a change of pace away from the standard multiplayer. And that wraps it up for the primary things that really stood out to me that I like about REDSEC. Now let's talk about some of the dislikes, and honestly, it's not even a long list here. The number one thing on my list though is audio. I don't know if it's my particular setup, maybe it's a PlayStation thing because I do play on PS5. I do have a very good headset and it works just fine for multiplayer in Battlefield 6. I generally have no problem hearing enemy footsteps and locating them very well, hearing enemy vehicles, gunfire. I can pinpoint that really well in multiplayer. But when I hopped into REDSEC, I was having a terrible time figuring out what was going on around me because of the audio. There were several situations where I had enemies sprint right up on me and I heard nothing at all until I was being shot. I also ran into several situations where I was hearing enemy gunfire that I thought was quite far away from me when it turned out they were actually really, really close to me. Like I thought I had plenty of time to react because it's like, oh, that guy's like 150 meters away. He's not going to be able to just like instantly delete me or anything, only to realize he was actually about 50 meters away from me. Another thing I noticed is with audio that is way off in the distance, I would often have a really hard time figuring out what that audio even was. Like I couldn't tell if it was gunfire or an airstrike or a vehicle. Like I had no idea what some of that audio was at a distance. And again, this might be something with my setup. Maybe you guys haven't run into this exact same issue. But the strange thing is, like I said, I can boot up multiplayer and everything sounds great and works just fine for me. So it's weird that that doesn't translate over to the Battle Royale for me. Oh, and that's not to mention one of the most frustrating things I found is vehicle audio doesn't always seem to track properly with the vehicle itself, meaning you will hear a vehicle in a different location from where it's currently located. That one was really frustrating to run into. But that was honestly my biggest issue with REDSEC was the audio design. I had a terrible time with that. Another thing that I wasn't really a fan of is just the fact that there's no solos mode at launch, at least. I'm sure it'll probably come down the road. They probably wanted to keep things really limited and together at launch. But for me, I'm generally somebody that isn't really into the whole social side of things where it's like hanging out and chatting with friends while gaming. I don't really do that a whole lot these days. I'd rather just kind of hop in and do my own thing and focus on me and what I'm doing and not really have to worry about communicating with squads, which I realize is a big part of REDSEC and how it's designed, and that's totally fine. But I definitely think if there were a solo mode at launch, my impression of REDSEC would maybe be a little more positive than it currently is. And then finally, the last thing I wanted to put in my personal dislike section here is I just fear that they haven't done enough to really set themselves apart from Warzone. I get that they're likely trying to pull a lot of the Warzone audience over, so they want it to be a familiar experience. But at the end of the day, after playing REDSEC for a little while, my general impression was just like, yep, that's a Battle Royale. Like, I just feel like they didn't do anything really big and innovative and unique that sets it apart from other Battle Royale games, outside of the Gauntlet mode at least, which is, I think, going to be more like the side mode for REDSEC, for people to level up guns and stuff if they don't buy the full game. So in saying all of this, at the end of the day, I actually don't think REDSEC is a bad Battle Royale or anything. In fact, I think the launch has been going quite well overall. I haven't seen any like insane game-breaking issues so far. Like I said, my biggest issue has just been with the audio design, and that's something that can get improved and fixed over time, I'm sure. So I'm definitely not calling REDSEC a bad Battle Royale, but at the end of the day, it's just not for me, and that's fine. I'm not really a Battle Royale player. I wasn't really anticipating getting hooked into this game and falling in love with it, but I wanted to give it a shot at least and see if perhaps it was doing something different, something unique that could keep me around more so than other Battle Royales have been able to in recent years, and there just wasn't that hook for me outside of Gauntlet. Now, what does that mean for the future of REDSEC on this channel? Well, I'll tell you guys right up front, my primary interest still lies with multiplayer for Battlefield 6, and that's what I'm going to be focusing on. That's where the vast majority of my gameplay will be. I really don't have much interest in playing much REDSEC. However, it does appear many of the mechanics from multiplayer are directly translating over to REDSEC. As a result, when I'm doing testing and breakdown videos, If I find something with my multiplayer testing that's also applicable to REDSEC, then yeah, I will include a section for REDSEC as well, and I will be bringing that up and talking about it in many of my videos. But I just wanted to make it really clear here, the primary focus on this channel is going to be on the multiplayer side of Battlefield 6. And this is where I want to hear from you guys in those comments down below. Now that it's been out for a few days, how are you feeling about REDSEC? And where does your interest primarily lie when it comes to Battlefield? Is it going to be more on the multiplayer side or the REDSEC side of things? If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.